Okay. Um. Hi everyone. So it's good to be here. It's good to have you back. And we're gonna be running the last series for this month. Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can. Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you, Coyote. So this is gonna be the last series for this month, and we'll be talking about requirement analysis and design definition. So before I go deeply into that, I was opportune to I had a good news anyways. So one of our community members had his exam and he passed. So hopefully he will be here to give us a bit of information that can help anybody if you are willing, if you are looking, taking an exam, such exam, you can share some nuggets and also give us heads up. That's a good news anyway. So that's by the way. Yeah, DME, you're welcome. So going into today's activity, I have an icebreaker for us. So for the CBAP exam blueprint, I felt it was necessary for me to share this because the motive, the main reason why we said we should have this series for BABOK is that to give everybody the ability to understand these 6 layers. We have 6 layers here, and you can see that we've handled the first one, that is business analysis, planning and monitoring, elicitation and collaboration. We've done that. Requirement lifecycle management, strategy analysis, requirement analysis and design definition, which we are taking today. The last time we had a facilitator who handled solution evaluation, and I believe that we all gained 1 or 2 things from her. If you missed this session, there is a link I sent via your invite, so you can just pop in there and either you get the recorded version or you can just download that material as well. So we also share that in the community. Right. So if you look at this, you see that business analysis, planning and monitoring, 14%, elicitation collaboration, 12%. Then the larger part of it here is where you have requirement analysis and design definition. So I felt it was really important for me to address this and also give us heads up. So if you are studying, you know that 30% of what you are looking out for, what you need to study for is requirement analysis and design definition. So you should channel your energy into that. If you read it, and also get a good grasp of that. Then followed by strategy analysis and requirement lifecycle management. So if you look at this is 45, this is 60. Okay, so if you cover these 3, you have 60% already out of the questions. However, it is quite important for you to understand and go through all the 6 layers so that you have a better understanding while answering the questions. Okay, so that's just a sort of intro and an icebreaker for us to get ourselves together. Okay, so going into requirements that we are talking about today, that is to tell us that requirement analysis and design definition is also a strong point that we need to know. So this knowledge area describes the task that business analysis professionals perform to structure and organize requirements discovered during elicitation activities. By now, I intentionally highlighted some part of this material, so that we get basic knowledge that we need. So by now, I shouldn't be defining, requirements. What you understand by requirements, by now, you should know what elicitation is. And by now, you should know what business needs and also what value means. So, specify and model requirement designs, validate, verify information, identify solution that meet business needs, right? Oh, great. Odroyo, you are welcome. So, and estimate the potential value that could be realized for each solution option. Both requirements and designs are important tools used by business analysts to define and also guide change. So, if you look at what we've discussed earlier, we spoke about stakeholders, we spoke about needs, we spoke about values, context, and also solution, right? So the main difference between requirements and designs, because like we all know that if you're handling a project, okay, the basic thing that you need is what are the requirements, what is this stakeholder saying to me, right? So the aspect of requirements where you elicit requirements, you gather requirements, and also there's part of the design. So the main thing is not that you just gathering the requirement, but also trying to understand what's the design you are working on, right? How will you model your design for the requirement that you've gotten? Okay, so the main difference between requirements and design is in how they are used and by whom. So how are you going to use it and who is using it? Okay, so one person's designs may be another person's requirements. Please understand that one person's design may be another person's requirements. Requirements and designs may be either high level or very detailed based on what is appropriate. So if you are talking about high level requirements, right, I will just give a quick scenario regards to that. So high level requirement is also dependent on the projects you are working on. Okay, I'm going to expatiate more on that as we go on. Just bear with me. So, what is a business analyst role, in this layer? So, I was able to create and put this together for us to understand what you need to do. Okay, not just you gathering the requirements, but also what are you meant to do? What are the things that you need to do? So I said the business analyst role in modeling needs, okay, modeling needs, requirements, designs, and solution is instrumental in conducting thorough analysis and communicating with other stakeholders. Okay, now the level of detail and what is being modeled are all dependent on the context. By now, we should understand what a context is. But if you've forgotten, I'm going to refresh your mind in a jiffy. Okay? So, okay, there you go. So, I said, being modeled at all dependent on the context, audience, and the purpose. So, business analysts analyze the potential value of both requirements and design. As a BA, you need to analyze the value of your requirement, the value of your design, right? You need to ensure that they correlate, okay? And how do I mean the correlation part? You can't have a requirement, you can't use a different requirement. No, sorry, you can't use a different design to tackle a different requirement, if you get what I mean. So, in collaboration with implementation subjects, matter experts, business analysts. Now, I'm gonna ask a question after this because we need to understand who are the stakeholders here while you are dwelling on this layer. Who are your stakeholders? So now, I've mentioned some collaboration with implementation subject matter experts. Business analysts define solution options that can be evaluated in order to recommend the best solution option that meets the need and also brings most value. So whatever you are doing, the requirements you are gathering, the design you are making, this is the solution part. The solution is that it must meet the need and also bring most value. Okay, so I delve into design itself. So I said, what do we understand by design? So a design option usually consists of many design components. Okay, each component is described by an element. Now, design elements may describe the business policy and business rule. The design elements may also describe the business processes to be performed and managed. Okay, so while you are looking at this, your element, your design element, you need to also know the people, the people who operate and maintain the solution, including their job functions and responsibilities. Now, in one of the past series, I mentioned something about you getting an organogram. I said get an organogram of your company. Okay, if you are new to that environment, try your best to get that. And the reason why I said you should get that is because it will help you a lot to know who is doing what and the right person to speak to at the appropriate time. Okay, so that is me saying including their job functions and also their responsibilities. Now, operational business decisions to be made, software applications, and application components used in the solution. Now, these are all embedded in your design elements. Okay. Organizational structures, including interactions between the organization, its customers, and its suppliers. If you can remember, I said two things you need as a BA: relationship requirements. Okay, relationship requirements. Now you can see the relationship part here. It says including interactions between the organization, its customers, and also its suppliers. So as a BA, definitely you are working around the team. You are not limited to what you can do. So I said I will relate everything we are talking about in the layer series. I'll relate it to this model. And what is this model? The BA book is saying that the business analysis core concept model is strictly on these 6 layers: the need, the context, the stakeholder, the change, the value, the solution. Okay, if you look at this, you can see they are all intertwined and they go hand in hand to complete the project. So now let's take them one after the other. Okay, the core concept itself, I said I'm going to refresh your memory about that if you've forgotten. So the core concept itself, then during requirement analysis and design, what are you meant to do as a business analyst? Okay, so what you need to do as a BA, you need to ensure that during this while you are handling this concept called change. Now, what is change? If you've forgotten what we discussed in all our series, this will be like a refresher course. Although we are building on that, and that was why I said I need to put everything together that we've learned so far from the first series up to now. That will give us a bigger picture. I used to say that as a BA, you have a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, when you have a jigsaw puzzle, you have a lot of pieces and you need to bring them together to make a bigger picture. Okay, so just follow my lead. Okay, now the change here is the act of transformation in response to a need. All right, you are basically responding to a need. So if you as a BA, when you get somewhere and you say, oh, I'm a BA, da 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 da, like that, what are you trying to provide? Number one, you are meant to add value, okay? And that is where you are useful. So right here, the act of transformation in response to a need, that is what we understand by change. Now, what is the work of a BA? You are meant to transform the elicitation results into requirements and designs in order to define the change. Okay? You are to transform elicitation results into requirements, designs in order to define the change. Now, in this concept, what is a need? A need is a problem or opportunity to be addressed. So, a company can say, oh, uh, there's a problem we are facing. For example, let's say that all your customers are coming back to give a feedback on your mobile application, for example. Okay. Now, for you to tackle that, you need to understand the major challenge. Now, if you look at the major challenge, is it that the user session are they spending more time to complete their task? Perhaps the mobile app keeps rolling, and rolling all along, you know, without giving you the necessary thing, or is the app crashing? Okay, so that is a problem to be addressed because whatever you are doing, all the requirements that you've gathered so far, all the designs that you've done so far, that you've modeled, after the project has been deployed, has been executed, okay, if you have loopholes, if you have gaps, okay, if you have negative customer feedback, you have a lot of work to do. All right. So, what is the work of a BA here? You are to analyze the needs in order to recommend a solution that meets the needs. So, literally, if you look at this concept, a BA is you are a solution provider. Okay, you provide solution to issues. So they see you, let me use the word, they see you as the Messiah, right? And how do I mean? You being the Messiah is, oh, I understand what you are saying to me. I understand what you are saying to me. However, this is if you put it together, you say perhaps they are on this level, but you need to make them understand that there's a higher level that they can attain. Okay, so you make them understand that okay, fine, this is possible. However, um, we can do it better. We can do it in an efficient way to save time, to save cost, and the likes. So, what's the solution? Solution is a specific way of satisfying one or more needs within a context. Okay. So, what is the work of a BA? You are to define solution options and recommend the one that is most likely to address the need. all right, and has the most value. So while you're addressing the need, you need to give them the best of the best. So a stakeholder, a group or individual with a relationship to the change, the need, or the solution. Now, as a BA, you are to tailor the requirement and design so that they are understandable, okay, and usable by each stakeholder group. So in this layer, what you are doing is that whatever you are giving to them, they need to understand. You need to speak their language. You need to communicate effectively. Okay. Whatever you are giving to them, the requirement, the design, the model, it should be usable. There's no point of you modeling something and it's useless. All right. So the next one, we have the worth. So the worth, that's the importance or usefulness of something to a stakeholder within the context. That's the value. Whatever you're bringing to the table, let me use that phrase. What you are bringing to the table must have value. Okay. Now, what's the work of a BA here? You are to analyze, quantify the potential value of the solution options. So if you have three solutions, for example, to a problem or to a need, you should consider, do we have the resources? Do you have the budget? Now, when I talk about resources, it might be financial, it might be manpower. Okay. So you need to analyze that. You need to say, okay, if we start this, can we work through? Can we deliver? Okay. Now, the context itself, that's the circumstances that influence or are influenced by and provide understanding of the change. That is leading us back to the act of transformation in response to a need. So, as a BA, what do you need to do? You need to model, describe the context in formats that are understandable and usable by all stakeholders. Now, all stakeholders. I mentioned something about a stakeholder register. When you are embarking on a project, you also have a stakeholder register. A stakeholder register comprises of everybody on that project, be it the developer, be it project manager, be it your sponsor or your CEO or the highest stakeholder, be it your developers. Everybody is on that register. So if you are interpreting this, saying model and describe the context in formats that are understandable and usable by all stakeholders, that is referring to your team as well. Okay. So yeah. So the business analyst role in modeling this requirement design solution is instrumental. Yes, I've mentioned this earlier. Now, requirement analysis and design task. Okay, we have some of the tasks that you need to conduct. Specify and model requirements. This describes a set of requirements or designs in detail using analytical techniques. Okay, verify requirements. How do you verify requirements? Ensure that a set of requirements or designs, right, has been developed in enough detail that is understandable to be usable by a particular stakeholder. Okay, so this would be my advice to you. While you are working as a BA, try your best not to make your work complex. Try your best to make your work as simple as possible so that anybody who picks it can or will understand what you are saying. So even when you are not there, your work should speak for you. There's no point. I don't see any reason why you should pick up a project or pick up a model, right? Or a use case, or a requirement. You've done justice to it, then they keep calling you, oh, Do you have a free time? We don't understand this. We don't understand this. Literally, if you ask me, that is saying that you've not done justice to your work. You need to do a thorough job. You shouldn't do a wishy-washy job. Just try your best. Take your time. Sometimes, when you are trying to produce a document, it takes time. You cannot rush it. If you rush it, definitely you're gonna rush back to do that job again. You're gonna redo it. You're gonna rework it. So whatever you are doing, try your best to put in your best. Put in your best when you are working on projects. So it's internally consistent and is of high quality. I've just said that. How do you validate requirements? Ensure that a set of requirements or design delivers business value and supports the goals and objectives. Anything you are doing must support the goals and objectives. If you are not working in that line, you are on your own. Trust me. Okay. So it seems you are working for yourself. Right. So define requirements architecture. I'm gonna delve into this while going on in this lecture. Um, because this is really important. And because I mentioned that they are intertwined, one layer leads to another layer gives you input gives you a task to do, a task gives you an output, which leads to another input. I'm gonna show you that later on. Okay, so define requirement architecture, structures all requirements and design so that they support the overall business. This is really important. Whatever you are doing, support the overall business purpose for a change and that they work effectively as a cohesive whole. Okay. Define solution options, identify, explore, describe different possible ways of meeting the need. So, um, 3 plus 3 is 6, 4 plus 2 is 6, 1 plus 5 is 6, uh, 0 plus 6 is 6. Okay. Try your best to, excuse me, try your best to look for different way of getting a good result. Okay. Don't say, oh, this is one-way traffic, right? This is what this is what I want to do, or I think this is the best way to go about it. Excuse me. So try your best. So explore different possible ways, when you are meeting the need. Now, analyze potential value and recommend solution. Assess the business value associated with a potential solution. Okay, right. Guidelines and tools. Um, so I'm gonna show you an image which addresses the guidelines and tools, the input, the output, but I want to build on the context. I want to build on that before we delve into that entirely. So, modeling notation standards. This allows, okay, right. I'm gonna hold it there. If you have any question, just pop up and say something. Audrey, do you want to say something? Go on.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Um, yeah, it's nice joining the session. Well done. Please ignore my background noise. So I hear you mentioned about, carrying out different options in preparing solutions. Do you want
Yeah.
to talk more about option analysis in the clear terms?
Say again.
I said, do you want to talk more about option analysis in the clear terms? How to go about carrying out option analysis to be able to, you know, define the accurate solution
Yeah.
for a project life cycle, yeah, or software life cycle.
Okay. Great. That's a good one. And you know, it's great having you here because I think we also have professionals in the community. And if you don't mind, Odoayo, do you want us to walk us through just in a few minutes?
you how. I'm actually asking a question.
Yeah, I'm trying to get your question. So can you? You said
Yeah, I heard you.
shouldn't we
I heard
explore
you
the
talking.
option?
No, I heard you talking about carrying out different options and able to be able to define
Yeah.
an effective solution for a change. So I'm asking, do you want to talk
Oh, I
more
get you.
about carrying out option analysis?
I get you. I get you. I get you. I get you now. Thank you for your question, Odoy. I'm gonna come back to that. Okay. Please
All right.
remind me so I don't forget. Any other person? Do you have any other question for me? Any other person? Okay. So we have guidelines and we have tools, right? So the guidelines and the tools is just a way of saying what are the necessary instruments, what are the equipment that we need to have to get the right model, to get the right design, and also to represent the requirements that we are talking about. So, modeling notations, okay? Um, right here we have BPMN, which we all know. So, allow requirements and designs to be precisely specified as is appropriate for the audience and the purpose of the models. Okay, so modeling tool software products that facilitate drawing and storing matrices and diagrams to represent requirements. So for this notation, this modeling tool helps to give a conceptual view. You know, if you want to build a house, for example, say you want to build a terrace, okay, or semi-detached or whatsoever you want to build, you have to speak to your either your you get the blueprint, that's the architectural design, for you to see, okay, what you want to do, what's it gonna look like, you see they will tell you, oh, this is the length, this is the breadth, and whatsoever. So the BPMN also allows us to ensure that the diagrams or the requirements is duly represented. Okay. Now, requirement architecture, the requirements and interrelationships among them can be used to ensure models are complete and consistent. So, in one of my articles, I said something about you having um, the right attributes, okay, as a being. And I mentioned something about consistency. I mentioned something about um, accuracy. I mentioned something about coincide, clear and coincide. Part of the link I shared to you via your invite, you can get that article from the downloads. Okay, so requirement lifecycle management tools. Right, these are the software products that facilitate recording, organizing, storing, sharing requirements and designs as well. So, what's the solution scope? The boundaries of the solution provide the boundaries for the requirement and design models. Now, if you can remember that in previous series, we also talk about the stakeholders, the techniques, that we use to carry out all these activities in the previous layers that we described, that we mentioned earlier. So, if you look at this, we have acceptance and evaluation criteria. So this, I think we keep repeating this because it's something that you need to work with while you are creating your use case, your user stories and the likes. So this is used to represent the acceptance and evaluation criteria attributes of requirements. Okay, so business capability analysis. Now, Odoayo, this is coming back to you. Business capability analysis is used to represent features or functions of an enterprise. Okay, so out of this type of analysis or the techniques that you can use, because I said um, if you are trying to get a particular result, you can do it in 1, 2, or 3 ways. That was why I give an example of 1 plus 3 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, and the likes. Okay, so a business model canvas is used to describe the rationale for requirements. Okay, if you have any question, please just let me know. Either you drop it as a comment or you raise up your hand. Just let me know so I can attend to you. Um, a business rule analysis is used to analyze business rules so that they can be specified and also modeled alongside requirements. Okay, so we have concept modeling used to define terms, relationship, relevance to the change, and also the enterprise. Right. Okay. All right. I'm coming back to you. So, data dictionary is used to record details about the data involved in the change and also the usage. Right. So, what do we understand by output? In many IT environments, the word design is used specifically for technical designs created by software developers. Now, I've heard some BA professionals say that, or you should have heard as well. You hear that, oh, I have the background, I have the technical background, I have an edge, and I also have the business aspect. So for me as a person personally, because my field has always been, in IT. So I've been in the technical space where we deal with frameworks, writing of codes, where we deal with cloud technology and the likes. So it's not new to me. Now, data architects and other implementation subject matter experts, all business deliverables are referred to as requirements. So, different IT environments, different solution providers. If that makes it clearer. Okay. Now, overall, all business deliverables are referred to as requirements. In addition to this, the models used to represent the requirement, this task also includes capturing information about attributes or metadata. Now, metadata, do you all understand what metadata is? Anyway, so the attributes or metadata. Now, if you looking for a quick example to give, if you open a browser right now, okay, and you open a web page, you have some attributes. Now, I can call the attributes keywords. Okay, when you open it, you have them as keywords. You have them as um, as attributes. So what you see is that it's gonna give you, for example, if you open that link that I sent to you, you're gonna see a lot of things, attributes like business analyst. You're gonna see something about David. You're gonna see something about ODEPIDAN. You're gonna see something about IIBA. Things like that. So this are also a bit of information that has been captured. So these are related information to your requirements. I can regard them as keywords. All right. So the specifying and modeling activities relate to all requirements. Okay. Now, how do you verify requirements? Right. So a high quality specification is well written and easily understood by its intended audience. Okay. A high quality model follows the formal or informal notation standard effectively represents reality. So if you look at this, quality, quality is ultimately determined by stakeholders. I had to put this here. Quality is ultimately determined by stakeholders. The most important characteristics of quality requirement and design is fitness for use. What you've done, can we use it? What you've done, can you attribute it to the people that will use it? Is it useful? Okay. Now, they must meet the needs of stakeholders who will use them for a particular purpose. Right. So, initially, I said verifying requirements. Now, I said verification activities are typically performed iteratively. Iteratively means, I hope you all know what iteratively means, okay? So, iteratively means that you can do them, um, in sections, right? Or in segments throughout the requirement analysis process. So, the best way to explain something being iterative is the agile framework. All right. Now, throughout the requirement analysis process, checking for compliance with organization, checking for compliance with organization performance, standard for business analysis, such as using the right tools and methods. How do you verify requirements? Check for compliance. Excuse me. When I mentioned something about you analyzing your company, right? Why there's a need, there's a problem. If you remember, I mentioned something about you doing an analysis if your company is going into a new market. Okay, that's when you do your SWOT analysis. That is where you do your personal analysis, political, environment, legal, economic, social, and the likes. So you check for compliance with the performance. Now you check for correct use of modeling notation, templates, or forms. I know that some companies they have a template already, okay, and that is why I say to myself, whatever I've done so far, I have a template that I always adapt. Okay, if you don't have a template, that means you need to create a template, or you need, even though you are working on it, you've created a template for yourself already. Okay, so checking for completeness within each model, ensuring the terminology used in expressing the requirements is understandable to stakeholders and is consistent. So this is literally saying that while you are documenting or you are drawing up your model, you shouldn't make it complex. Okay, there's no reason why you should speak big grammars or use high terminologies, high vocabs while you are doing that. Make it as easy, as simple. Put yourself in the position of a stakeholder. Say to yourself, oh, if I write this, will this person understand? Yeah. If I write this, will this person understand what I've written? If another person is reading it, will it make sense to the person? So if it's not making sense to you as a person, there's no point to assume that's going to make sense to the other person. Okay. So you compare each model against other relevant models, checking for elements that are mentioned in one model but are missing in other models, and verifying that the elements are referenced consistently. Okay. So I'm going to start an example here. While you are writing a BRD, okay. So while you're writing a BRD, you have an index. Let me see if I can pull out a BRD from here. Just a minute. If you have any question, this is a good point for you to ask a question. I want to hear from everybody. Do you have a question for me? Any questions for me? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. There you go. I hope that answers your question. So, whatever the company says to you that this is what we want to do, okay, that will help you to build a strategy plan. Let me use myself as an example. Let's say I want to. Let's say I want to bake. Yeah, even though I'm not good at baking, right? So pardon me for my analogy. Even though I'm not good at baking, my business strategy plan, let's say I want to bake. What's the first thing that you do? Can you hear me? Hello, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. So let's say my requirement to you is that you should bake for all the persons on this call. And I think we have about 10 persons here. What would be your strategy? How do you cater for people that you've never met before?
Okay, so the first thing is to know what their preference is. What
How do you know their preference?
is to find out from them, ask questions.
Okay,
Does
so
that work?
how will you do that? How will you ask the questions?
Okay, so find out what would be their taste. Is it chocolate? Is it vanilla? And
Right.
probably do a survey if that is necessary, a poll.
That's where I'm going. That's the point. That's the point. Yes, please go on. So
Okay,
after you've done
so
your survey and you've gotten feedback, what do you do? That gives you a strategy, right?
yes.
Then after doing that, what's the next thing that you do?
Okay, so see what resources I have available,
Thank you. Do you
able
understand?
to,
So
yeah.
if you've gotten your survey, if you've gotten your feedback, you know, oh, David is uh David likes chocolate or strawberry, right? Uh let's say likes strawberry. Let's say Rotary likes vanilla, even though I don't know if she likes vanilla anyways, but don't crucify me for that. So when you get the preference, that is you gathering your requirements. Okay, that is you gathering your requirements. So when you have your requirement, it will give you a broader picture of what you want to do. It will make your life so easy. Do you understand? Now that you've gotten your survey, they filled it, they returned it. Okay, you look at, oh, I'm baking for 9 people, right? How much will it cost us per head? Let's say it's gonna cost you £900. Okay, I'm just saying it's gonna cost you £900 to cater for 9 persons. Now, how do you save cost? They've allocated budget of 700 to you. Your budget says 900. What do you do? Do you ask for more resources, or you go with the budget they've given to you?
That is a bit. That is a bit. Okay, so most of the time, I think
Yeah.
it depends on the organization because I feel for most times, most startup, they want to like do it. Okay, we're trying to save costs because we have not really make profit. So the
Yeah.
best is to make do with available resources that you have and
Yeah.
see okay, with what we have, what can we do with what we have to bring out the best? So instead of asking for more funds, it's just to make do of the available resources if that work. Or what
Okay,
you think?
okay. I'm gonna throw a quick question to you. Now, you are working on saving cost. If you produce, if you have a bad production, do you know that you will get blamed for it?
Yes, 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 yes.
So you need to put that is what we call assumption.
Mm,
So do you want to get blamed for producing a bad, for making a bad cake, or you want to tell them, see, these resources you've given to me with the requirement you are asking from me, it cannot work.
okay, so another thing that comes to mind is based on the survey or feedback
Yeah,
gotten,
yeah,
I think what I would look through is look at the is it the highest one that is probably out of 20 people, I
yeah,
have like 15 people that want this particular.
yeah.
How can I make sure that this 15 get the best and also try to like I don't want to say
Or you just
manipulate.
tell them, or just tell them, you know what, guys, we don't have all the variety of stuff you're asking for. You know, this is what we have. Either you eat it or you are not eating it.
Yes, no, but no, that cannot be done because of course it's for profit. So it's
So
either all right, please
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So I'm just trying to give you an analogy of how you create a business strategy plan, and I think that's the best way I can explain it. You know, that's the best way I could be practical about it. Okay. So I hope I've answered your question. Then after
Okay,
that, you can get your flour, you can get your other things, your
okay,
variety
so
of yeah.
you've
You want
not
to say something?
really you've not really tackled the fact that okay, out of this is the available resources and this is
Yeah.
what we are producing for. How to as a BA, how do you tackle that aspect so that number one, you don't get to get blamed for the outcome at the end of oh this is what because I feel your role as a strategist is also to make sure that you get the best out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a bit dicey for me currently because I oh this
Yeah.
is what I have available and this is
Yeah.
what I know if I can get other resources to produce or to do this better on.
All right. Before I go to Oyewumi, I'm just gonna ask you a question. Last question from me, so we don't delay ourselves here. Um, um, Omowumi, if you are given a project to handle and you are given a limited resources, will you use your personal funds to ensure that it gets delivered?
Ah, no.
So what do you do?
Request for
Thank you.
request. Make a
Thank you.
request
Thank you. That's the best
based
answer I can
on
give to you. Make a request.
yeah. Make a
Let them
request.
understand. Justify. That's the word to use is justify your request.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay, Chrissy. Before I come to you, Amo. Oh, you with me? Go for it, please. Are you there?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
So my reaction is to what to Omowomi's question. So I'm
Okay.
thinking that you made mention of about resources and she said some things about gathering resources that if the resources that is being allocated for the project is not
Yeah.
enough to I for me I think I was reading through then I reading through prior to this class, so I saw that you can actually do an analysis that will actually see tell you, or you can actually find out the kind of those requirements that are really necessary, the mandatory one and the ones that you may have and you may not actually, it's not compulsory, but you can, it's also a plus. I think I don't know, that's just my thought on that.
Okay. Thank you. Oyewumi. You are spot on. Spot on. Trust me. All right, Chrissy. Chrissy, go for it.
Yeah, good evening.
Aya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your lecture. I just wanted to find out from you the softwares that you're using. How can we, um, I don't know how we can, how for me, I still need support for the softwares that will be used. I don't know if this period will be set aside to put us through.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Um.
for those other information you downloaded and sent to us through the WhatsApp and through the mail, I've been going through it, very wonderful information. But
Okay.
for the software,
Yeah.
I don't know how one is going to, because those things are not what you can just look up, read on your own. You still need guidance.
Okay. So, thank you, Chrissy. That's a beautiful question, and that will subject us to also have a series when it comes to working on softwares or working with softwares. So, we're gonna take a series on that as well. We're gonna take a series using uh Jira. We're gonna take a
Okay.
session using Confluence. We're gonna have a
Okay.
session using BPMN. Then we're gonna take a session using what I call free flow, draw IO rather.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will be done. But we'll
Okay.
look into it. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Olopade, please go for it.
Okay. Okay. Is
Also, I
that right?
also like just to add to what
Okay.
Christy
Bye.
just asked.
Mm.
Yes, also
All right,
please, I
Chrissy.
don't know.
Yeah, no, we
Yes,
go
just
ahead.
yes. So I don't know if also software in terms of research,
Okay.
doing research, because I feel that's like more majorly one of the requirements for you to like, because you probably be working on a lot of research and data, and how to probably filter through your data to get results, because I know that that's majorly as a BA what will be required of you, carry on research and then doing what's making a decision based on what you have researched on, just like the illustration that was done. So how do you like, in terms of doing your research, what are the steps that you need to consider? What are the tools that can help you? Because I know with the whole of AI and everything, because currently what I do is I use Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and
Yeah.
sometimes
Please, please,
yes, and
how am I
sometimes
going to
it's
get it?
it's confusing because
Switch.
I could,
I did
not
that.
that
It's now it's
it
telling
has
me
been
my mail is
helpful
not.
to some extent, but sometimes I might have to also like get the source, because your business wants to, whatever you are doing, they want to know which source was the source of your research or your data, where you getting the resource for, to know if it is viable, if it is valid or not. So I think that would also kind of help if you could come up with a class or a section on how to like filter through your research, your data, sources for your data, and also the available tools that
Okay.
is more reliable.
All right. Thank you, Mommy, for that. So to answer your question, this is what I'm gonna do. Um, we're gonna have a session on that, but I think, or I feel we should have some written documentation, to say this is the technical know-how, this is how you go about it, the steps and the likes. Then we do so from theoretical aspects back to the practical aspect. Okay.
That's
Olopade,
okay.
yes, please. Olopade, is
Yes,
still there?
yes, I can hear you. I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, pardon me. What will be Olopade?
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's a good one. So I've been saying a lot about guidelines and tools. I've said a lot about input, output. I've said a lot about task. I've said a lot about architecture. So, um, the whole thing I've explained earlier, right? This is this is where it comes to play. Okay. Now, this is the relationship between input and output. So before I come here, I'm gonna nip down to this. Okay, I'm gonna nip down to this. Now, specify and model requirements and designs. I hope we all can relate with what is called role and column anyways. So specify and model requirement and designs. This is under elicitation result. So this is you giving an input. Okay. Now, after giving an input, requirement specified and modeled. Okay, that is your output. So I'm going back to that image. If you look at this, this is guidelines and tools, modeling notation, which I've spoken about today, modeling tools, requirement architecture, requirement lifecycle, solution scope. Now, this guy here, before you can specify and you model your requirement, you need to have gathered your elicitation results. Okay, before you can specify and model requirements, you should have gotten your input. All right. Now, your task after getting your elicitation result, your task is to specify and model the requirement. Okay. Now, your output from that is to requirement specified and modeled. Okay. Now, from that aspect, the task using this output. So, why are you specifying? Why are you modeling? The reason why you are doing that is to ensure that you've gotten the right elicitation results. Okay. Now it says that task using this output, you have to verify requirement and you also have to validate that requirement. Please, if you have any question at this point, ask me. Okay. So you have your input, you have your output, you have your task, and you have your task that is using your output. All right. Chrissy, your hand is up. Chrissy, are you there? Okay, I believe that should be a mistake there. So your input, your output, your task, and also what are you doing to your output? Okay, I'll leave that aside. If you come here, you see requirements, you see information approach, you see elicitation results, you see potential value, solution scope, change strategy. All these are your inputs. Okay, if you have all these guys right here, what are you meant to do on them? The first thing you do is you specify a model. Second thing is you verify requirements. Third thing is you validate the requirement. Then you define the requirements architecture. You define the design option. Then you analyze potential value and recommend the best solution, like we said. So, this pictorial view is to explain what we'll be reading on so far. Okay, is to ensure that we understand what you said earlier, because I had to take them one after the other so that you get what it means, you get the description before explaining this. Okay, Chrissy, please go for it. Tirola. Who is going first? Tirola, Chrissy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Aya.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to confirm that the guidelines and tools right here, the box right there on the guidelines and tools, the things on it, are they the things that needs to be done in order for us to achieve the 7.1 specify and model requirement? Because I can see the arrows go straight directly to the 7.1. So are they the tools that needs to be in place? And also I would like to confirm, maybe probably I missed out, or maybe I just want more clarification. Requirement architecture, is it kind of the same as modeling tools? Because when we when I think about architecture in building too as well, it's like you're building something, even though you are yet to build it physically. It's something that you're just you just draw out, sketch out in paper somewhere on an app. So it's just more, to me it looks similar to with modeling tools, like modeling things. So what's the difference between requirement architecture and modeling tools here? And that's the two questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tinola. Chrissy, go for your question, then I answer both at the same time.
No, I think I've already asked my question.
All right, I saw your hand up. That was why I
Okay,
saw
sorry, let me put it down.
right. All right. Tinola, to answer your question, I'm gonna backtrack a bit. So, I mentioned something about requirement architecture, and I also mentioned something about guidelines. So, I'll start with the guidelines and tools. Okay, so this part, your requirement architecture, that's the requirements and the relationship to complete what you need to model. Okay, so if I say, from the analogy I gave to Omawobi, okay, we said we wanted to bake for 10 people, right? Now, if you use that analogy, what is the end goal of that project?
It's to bake 10 cake.
Okay, is it just to bake for them or to satisfy their cravings?
Yeah, to satisfy the craving.
Yeah. So the end point is not just to bake. That was why I asked Omawobi, and I said, how will you get their taste? How will you understand what they like or what they want? So she said she's gonna churn out a survey which will give her a broader picture of what she needs to do to satisfy what they need. Because if you don't do that, if you just look at it and say, oh, the overall thing we need to do right here is just to bake for these people and everybody to your tent, O Israel. Okay, so if you look at it that way, we have customer feedback, and they will say something like, "Oh, Tinola gave us, the cake we had from Tinola's program is all messy, I didn't like it, it wasn't fluffy, it wasn't that, it wasn't this, it wasn't that." You gotta have a lot of, back and forth. So if you take the feedback from your customer, you have something else to address. You have a need to address. Now, how do you address those needs? Okay, let's say perhaps the first let's say the first nutmeg baking powder or what have you that you got, maybe the brand is not that good, and you say, okay, let's check our ingredients, let's check something else, maybe the margarine you used, or perhaps maybe the egg or stuff like that. If you look at all those things, those are your tools. Okay, those are your tools to complete a given task. All right, I'm gonna pause there. So I'm gonna move to this part. For you to specify and model requirements, you need all these guys. Okay, they will help you. They will help you to fulfill this obligation. If that make it easier for you to get. Okay, so these guidelines and tools will propel you, will for input, okay, that is readily available. It meets the required guideline and the tools you have for you to specify the requirements and also model the requirements. Because if you don't do that, you see that the task using this output, you won't be able to verify the requirements. Okay, if you're not able to verify all the requirements. Now, in the analogy that I gave earlier, I said, how do you ensure that you satisfy their cravings? If you don't get what they want, that means you can't validate their cravings until you send out a survey before you can verify their cravings. Okay, after you've gotten the survey, the questionnaire, then you can say, oh, Rotary likes vanilla, oh, David likes strawberry, oh, likes chocolate, you know, and the likes. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. So moving on. So right here, what I just explained earlier, this is what we have here. So if I just go through this, you have defined requirement architecture. Before you can define requirement architecture, you need to have your requirements. Okay. Before you can say define design options, you need to have your requirements prioritized. All right. Before you can verify requirement and design, you must have verified the output of your requirement from which you've gotten earlier. Okay. Before you can specify and model requirement and designs, your elicitation result must be available. Okay, and that gives birth to your requirement specified and what is modeled. So the last one here, you have analyze potential value and recommend solution. What is your input here? The value, the potential value. You already weigh the potential value of the requirement you have. Okay, if it doesn't align with the organization value and need, that means it will work. So if you look at this, analyze potential value and recommend solution, you have design option. That's your input. What's your output? Your output overall is the solution recommended and also what you analyzed the value, the potential value to be, okay, and what you also recommended from here. I hope you all understand. All right. So, techniques. We have data flow diagrams, DFD. If you've heard about DFD, data flow diagrams, this is used to visualize data flow requirements. Let me see if I can use that to show what a DFD is. DFD diagram. Let me see if it's part of that project. Okay, so I have this. This is what it looks like. Just a minute. So basically, it shows the data flow of the requirements. Let me find something simple that we can use. Let me see this. Okay. Right. So I'm just gonna show this. Vector, close, share my screen. I hope you can see this. Present something else. There you go. So let me see where I can make it bigger. Okay. So this is what a DFD looks like. Can you see this? So right here you have your customer, you have inventory, that's your actors. I've mentioned something about actors. You know, the actors you have right here, you have your supplier, you have your customer, you have, so what is the customer doing? So basically a DFD shows you what you need to do. Going back to that same analogy, if you are drawing a DFD for that object, you know, giving baking for all the persons on this call, your DFD will say uh Tinola, right? Tinola. So because you have your resources, let me just give a quick one. So what is the end goal of what you are doing? You have yourself, the customer, you have Tinola. So what do you need from the customer? What you need from the customer is that you want to send a survey out to them. So look at this order. Let's say field survey. Okay, customer field survey. What is coming back to you is the survey they filled. Okay, now let's say you have strawberry, you have vanilla, you have chocolate right here. Okay, so if this customer's um, request is outside of the three things that you have, it's gonna go back to the customer. But if you have that particular craving of that customer, it will be processed. Okay, that is what I can explain about DFD, what a DFD looks like. Okay, so going back to yeah. So we have DFD, we have data modeling, we have used to model requirements to show how data will be used to meet the stakeholder information need. Decision modeling used to represent decisions in a model to show the elements required for decision making. Functional decomposition, this is used to model requirements to identify the parts of an overall complex business function. Okay, so if you have something like this, if you have a project that is complex, this is made work, I can say. So you have glossary. It's just like say you know, recording the meaning of relevant business terms. That is why I said if you are using big language, big vocabs, you know, big lingua, you can use this. This can help you out. So anybody going through your documents will say, oh, um, Chrissy or MM or DME said we should do architecture or we should do modeling. What is this? Okay. To a labor person or a stakeholder that doesn't have any knowledge of what you are saying, this will bail you out. All right. So, all right. So we have interface analysis used to model requirements in order to identify and validate input and output of the solution they are modeling. Non-functional requirement analysis. This is used to define, analyze quality of service attributes. Process modeling, organization modeling. I'll say something about that. Prototyping. Okay. So prototyping is where you have I think is some company you have it as they call it proof of concept. Okay, you can, if you understand what a proof of concept is, a proof of concept to say, okay, we have this service to render to you guys. Okay, we'll give you 2 weeks to explore it. If you like it, we go ahead with it. So, but here, prototyping is basically saying, give us, show us what it is, what it's going to look like. That's why in some architectural designs, you have people drawing a big, box of buildings to show you, okay, this is where you have your garage, this is where you have the first building, this is where you have the cubicle, and other things like that. So prototyping is just a way to make them see what it will look like. Okay, at the end of the whole project, what are you giving to us? So that is what prototyping simply means. Right. Tinola, coming back to you. Requirement architecture fits the individual models and specifications together to ensure. All right, Rotary, before I move on, please go for it.
Okay. I have a question around prototyping.
Okay.
I've realized that many times I'm not able to start and complete the process of actually creating a full prototype. I always end up needing the help, help of like the UI UX team to actually create things like high fidelity prototypes that can be interacted with. Is that normal, or am I supposed to be able to do that by myself, like end to end, from start to finish? If you're muted.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm laughing is because I've had this discussion with someone, and sometimes you see that as a BA, if you have good a bit of hands-on, if you have good experience, there's an opportunity for you to wear multiple caps or multiple hats. Now, a BA with a technical background wears the art of you communicating with the software developers in a language they understand. A UI UX, if you are building a platform, a BA, it is good to have knowledge and experience about wireframe, at least wireframe, okay? Because if you have knowledge about wireframe, if a UI UX guy gives you something terrible, you should be able to question it. Okay? Now, for example, some people work with Figma, okay? For people that don't understand what a Figma is, anyways, a Figma is a software that is used to prototype. Let me use that word if that makes it easier. So a Figma is used to draw up wireframes. Okay, so as a BA, you have what we call mockup. Okay, mockup is what it's gonna look like. Now, as a BA, if you don't have the experience of using a Figma, when your UI UX guy says to you, "Oh, David, I'm done with my part," or you just want to have a look of what your UI guy is doing, okay, there's every possibility for you not to understand how the platform works because it's quite creepy, if you allow me to use that word, pardon my language. Okay, you have yeah, just a minute. Yeah, so you have a whole lot, the Figma file, you see that they have a whole lot of design that you can't even look at. So in this case, what you can do is, if you have the understanding, although as a BA you can only guide your UI guy or your UI UX guy to do a mock-up. But if you also do a mock-up yourself, it will help you guys to look better. Yeah, Rota, they go for it.
Yeah, so my question is more towards is tending towards the use of Figma itself, because I understand Figma, I know how to read it, but my main issue is, am I supposed to get the UI UX involved to help me with the prototyping? Because I would still review the Figma. I use Paint, I use Balsamic, I use Visio,
Yeah.
use Draw.io to create prototypes. But what I'm saying is, when I need like interactable prototypes, I always need my UI UX to create the Figma prototypes for me, because I can interact, I can review, and I can approve as well from the BA standpoint. My question is that normal? Am I supposed to be able to create Figma prototypes by myself? As in, would that make me a perfect or better BA?
If you ask me, I will say that you pass that to your UI UX guy or your UI UX team.
Okay.
Because that is not your job, actually, if you ask me.
Okay.
It's not your work to start doing mock-up and wireframes. You can only review what they are doing. You can't do it yourself.
Okay, so at what point do I engage them? Is it when I finish my own like high-level prototypes and use my other tools to create those mock-ups? Then I'll now pass it on to them, because I usually use a different approach. So what I do is, while I'm planning and we're discussing the design, I get my UI UX to understand my plan and all the requirements gathering and everything that I've just put together. Then we create a prototype. We need to demo this prototype to the stakeholders so that we get approval before we even commence the main build. So is that usual practice?
Yeah. So if you ask me, UI UX, they deal with this part when it comes to implementation.
To see if what UI UX has created is good, because I realize that for most times, when I take a different kind of approach, I realize that they've built all sorts of things in testing. I realize that we have different redundant features. I've had sessions with them that review and take out some redundant, useless features that they decided to put in the process of trying to gold plate the whole thing. So at what point do I need to engage UI UX exactly?
All right. To answer your question, in an industry context, now, if you are using Agile framework, okay, an Agile framework will tell you how many sprints that you have. So your project manager would have done justice to the sprints, to the task ahead. So at that point, I'm sure that the project manager or the scrum master would have earmarked a particular time for you to review what is on ground. Okay, so if that's the case, from your sprint, let's say you have 12 sprints, all right? Let's say you said, oh, before you can continue, because if you are creating a platform, the first sprint before the developers can do anything, the UI UX guy should have come up with a design. So I'm putting this at sprint 1 or sprint 2. At the end of sprint 1, they should have completed their design for you to review. Okay, so I would say that it's all dependent on the scheme on how you guys approach your project. But if you ask me, it depends on the project you are working on. All right, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it helps. But in a situation where you're a BA, you're a scrum master, you're a project manager in one.
Are you sure you cannot be all that?
I'm not joking. It can be very difficult. So I just wanted to understand, at what point do I need to make that demarcation? But I get what you're saying. In an agile environment, it's very easy, but
it's very easy.
In a agile environment, it's problematic.
Whoa. So one person wearing three caps. Well, that's a lot. So anyway, I'll come back to you on that. I think we can have a discussion on that as well. So requirement architecture, Tinola, a requirement architecture fits the individual models, and this part, is to ensure that all of the requirements form a single whole that supports the overall business objectives and produces a useful outcome for stakeholders. All right. So what do we have here? You have architecture management software, you have legal, regulatory information, you have methodologies and framework. Now, these three guys is satisfy you defining the requirement architecture itself. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do, all these three guys will help you define your requirement architecture. Now, after getting the architecture itself, their output, it's your requirement architecture. Okay, now what do you do? What do you need to do to your output? You prioritize your requirements, you assess your requirement changes, you specify the model requirements, then you define the design option. So this relating it back to what I showed earlier here. Okay, defining your requirement architecture, you have here your output. You can see that your output right here is your requirement architecture. Then after that, your design option. After you've designed your option, your output is also this before you go to the solution recommended. All right. So business analysts use a requirement architecture to understand which models are appropriate for the domain, the solution, scope, the audience, organize requirements into structures relevant to different stakeholders, illustrate how requirements and models interact with and relate to each other, and show how the parts fit together into a meaningful whole. All right, making sense out of it. So it ensures the requirements work together to achieve the overall objective, which is really, really important, and make trade-off decisions about requirements while considering the overall objectives. So, who are stakeholders? This is a big question I wanted to ask. So, in this series that we've been able to address this. Now, who do you think your stakeholders are? And this question, I'm gonna call names if nobody's speaking because I think we're almost wrapping up. So I will leave this here. Who do you think your stakeholders are? Let me start calling names. Nobody's saying anything. Hi, Zainab.
Okay.
Hi, Zainab. Are you there? Yes, Tinola, go for it.
Yeah, I'm like the project sponsored, the people that sponsor the project. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, spot on. Zainab, are you there? Sarah, can you unmute your mic and talk to us? Sarah, are you there? All right, Zainab, go for it.
Good evening. I would say, from my understanding, a stakeholder is someone that has that the project is going to impact in any way. So these are the business people, the development team. We have the customers, the contractors as well, just to mention a few.
Okay. Boluwaji, say something to us. DME, or meet your mic and talk to us. Or you can just drop it in the comment section though. Sarah, are you there? I'm not sure I've heard Sarah's said anything.
Hi, David. Can you
I
hear me, please?
I can hear you loud.
Yes. And just like what the last speaker said, stakeholders are the people who your projects will impact and who might also impact your project in any way. Because even at times, depending on the project, if you are doing a construction project, even people around that area, they're also stakeholders. So stakeholder actually people your project will impact and who could also impact your project or your solutions. That's just my explanation. Thanks.
Sarah, say something to us. Unmute your mic. Let me hear from you. Can you unmute your mic? If it's not possible, just let me know so we can move on.
Yes, so
yeah.
I have a baby. I'm
Oh,
so
okay.
sorry because you may hear baby voice
No
here.
worries.
That's
No
why
worries. No worries. No
yes.
worries. No worries.
Yeah, so
Hi,
like
baby.
you said, the project manager, the CEO, like you have board of directors, you have employees also who are stakeholders. They are also people who the project will impact upon. You have even as little as even the lowest cadre of employees, people such as receptionists, even the security man can be impacted by that project. And so they are all stakeholders. It's just that their impact upon that project may not be as high as that of maybe someone like the CEO and all of that. But then they have, in one way or the other, they have, the project will impact upon them. And so I would say they are all stakeholders as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sarah. It's good to hear your voice. I just wanted to put a voice to the name. Okay. So yes. Thank you, everybody. You've all said the right thing, and that's the stakeholder. However, I have this customer represent the market segments affected by the requirement. Like Sarah mentioned, your security guy can also be affected. Okay, so that can be your end user. If you are doing something in the company and you don't factor the guy in, you might leave him, out of it. So, affected by the requirements and solutions, will be involved in analyzing the benefit of those requirements and cost of the design options. Your domain subject matter experts may be called upon for their domain knowledge to assist in analyzing potential value and benefits, particularly for those requirements where they are harder to identify. Okay, the end user provides an insight into the potential value of the change. Then you also have your implementation subject matter experts may be called upon for their expertise in implementing the design options in order to identify costs and also the risk. Okay. This juncture, I think we've done justice to this last phase of the series. Do you have any questions for me? I would like to take questions. I would like to take feedback and also wrap up for today. Okay. Anybody?
Thank you so much.